Fire roared from the monster's mouth, rolling across the village like a living wave of molten destruction. Roofs splintered. Wooden beams cracked and fell. Screams shredded the night air. Smoke clawed at lungs. Stung eyes. Coated everything in a choking haze. Thalira's small body pressed against the floorboards, trembling. Her heart hammered against her ribs like a drumbeat of doom. The smell of burning wood and flesh twisted her stomach. Through the gaps in the boards, she could see her grandmother. Her hands trembling, gripping the ancient flute tightly. She lifted it to her lips, knuckles white, trying desperately to play the melody that might calm the monster. This had been their family's special gift for decades. And now it was her grandmother's turn to silence the monster. At least for the next 10 years. The tension was suffocating. The monster moved closer. Her family huddled together in fear. And panic surged. Before she could control it, she struck the wrong note. The monster's roar tore through the village. Louder. Sharper. More terrifying than anything Thalira had ever heard. Its eyes glowed red, burning with rage. Flames leapt higher as it slammed its claw through a neighbor's home, scattering splinters and screams into the darkness. Thalira's fingers dug into the floorboards. She wanted to scream, but her mother's hand pressed firmly over her mouth. Her father did the same to her little sister. Her grandmother's voice quavered. Play it right. Her father's eyes begged silently, but the melody faltered under her panic. The notes twisted into terror. And the monster's rage intensified. It surged forward. Roofs exploded. Flames consumed everything in seconds. Her father shouted. The creature's claws smashed through walls, grabbing her little sister, flinging her into a corner. Everyone screamed in terror. Then her father fell. Bones snapped. Wood splintered. They could not move. Her mother, frozen with fear, somehow pushed Thalira behind her, shielding her. Her scream pierced the inferno. When Thalira opened her eyes, her head spun. Smoke, blood, fire. Chaos everywhere. Nothing remained of some bodies but scattered organs. Her baby sister lay where the monster had thrown her. Tiny chest rising and falling. Shallow, terrified breaths. The monster moved closer, sizing her up. Eyes wide and hungry. But before you continue watching, please listen to this. I create my stories from scratch, every idea original. But someone told me that won't work on YouTube. Help me show them it can. Please subscribe and keep watching. But instead of striking, it paused, picked its lips, and slowly backed away. Thalira pressed herself as flat as she could against the floor, inhaling the metallic tang of fear. Grandmother, she screamed. The flute had slid across the floor and fallen into the flames. Her grandmother lay there, half destroyed, head to waist intact, still breathing faintly. A trembling whisper escaped her grandmother's lips. Her last breath. She became numb, couldn't cry, couldn't move, until she had a cry. Her little sister. Thalira rushed in and froze. Her sister's eyes glowed like fire, the same as her grandmother's wolf eyes. Before she could react, her 2-year-old sister transformed into a pup-sized wolf. Confusion and fear twisted inside her. Don't be scared, little me, a familiar voice whispered. Her grandmother's voice, calling through her sister's body. Thalira's legs weakened. She staggered against the wall. I can't leave you. I am here, in Adele's body. I will be here. What is going on? She asked herself in panic. Magic? Soul binding? Thalira knew her family had gifts of taming monsters and healing. But this was something entirely new. She collapsed to the floor. Her grandmother in Adele's pup frame pressed close, wrapping her in warmth. Thalira squeezed her eyes shut. Tears burned her cheeks, chest heaving, lungs gasping. She wanted to cry, to escape, to wake. But this was no dream. It was memory. 10 years later. Her body still remembered every sound, every smell, every pulse of fear. Her heart still ached. Her grandmother had disappeared into the forest that night. But she would always come around to care for her. When Thalira begged her to stay, her grandmother refused. warning she might bring more danger than good. Chapter 1. The first light of morning crept over the outskirts of Morvaen pack house. But it did little to warm the village. The sky was gray, heavy with the smoke of old fires, and the smell of charred wood. A stillness hung over the huts like a shroud, broken only by the occasional creak of a loose roof tile, or the whisper of the wind through bare trees. Thalira moved quietly along the narrow, uneven path between the houses. Her cloak was thin, patched in places, but it offered a small comfort against the cold bite of the morning air. She kept her head low, ears straining for the familiar sting of venomous words. "Cursed girl, keep away. Her family brought the monster here. The blood of the pack cries for justice, for revenge." The whispers rolled over her like waves of poison. 10 years had passed since the night her family was torn apart. And yet, the pack members had not forgotten. They would never forgive. They believed her grandmother had failed the whole pack. Thalira's jaw tightened. Her small hands clenched at her sides, nails digging into her palms. The familiar ache of loneliness pressed down on her chest, a weight she carried every day. She had learned to walk as if invisible, to shrink into the shadows, to avoid their eyes. But some mornings, the whispers dug too deep, and the sorrow threatened to drown her. A sudden shiver ran down her spine. She froze. She felt it before she saw it. A presence, a warmth in the cold morning air, a voice that called to her heart. She turned toward the clearing beneath the old oak tree, the place where the wind always seemed to whisper secrets. There she was, her sister. No, her grandmother. Still in a 2-year-old frame somehow, not quite herself. Pale as moonlight, small hands folded neatly in her lap, eyes glowing faintly with an inner light. A light no ordinary child should possess. And yet, Thalira knew. She had always known. The voice came, soft but steady, threading through her chest. Thalira. Thalira swallowed hard. "Grandmother, is it really you?" "Yes," the spirit whispered, eyes shimmering. "I am here. Always. But listen carefully. Time is short. You only have 7 days." Thalira's heart clenched. 7 days. 7 days until what? The monster. The words fell like ice in her chest. In 7 nights, it will reoccur. Stronger. Faster. Deadlier than before. It will break through doors. Crush homes. Claim more lives. It will come for Morvaen, unless we act. A tremor ran through her body. The memories of screams, of fire, of her family, surged up like a tidal wave. She pressed her hands to her eyes, wishing she could close the past away. I can't do this," she whispered. "If you can't, how can I?" "You must, child," the spirit said firmly. "You are the only one left with the knowledge, the only one who can reclaim the melody. You must find the flute, the one your the Alpha King took the day I failed. It is kept in the pack house. There, you will find the path to end this curse." Thalira shook her head, tears brimming. "The pack house. I can't even get close there. They'll see me. They won't stop you," the spirit interrupted softly. "The Alpha does need you. The pack members cannot save themselves from what is coming. Only you can." The words burned in her chest. She looked down at her sister's small face. Pale, serene, a mask of innocence, hiding the powerful spirit within. The weight of responsibility pressed on her shoulders. Heavy, unrelenting. Her chest ached. Her lungs felt tight. And yet, somewhere inside, a stubborn ember of determination ignited. I'll do it," she said, voice shaking, but firm. The spirit's glowing eyes softened, a faint smile curling at the corners of her lips. "You have no choice, Thalira. The pack house's fate, your family's honor, and the lives of all who live here rest in your hands. Remember, child, the night is coming, and with it, the shadow of the monster." For a long moment, they stood together in silence. The wind rustled through the trees, whispering secrets and warnings. The village around them seemed almost frozen, holding its breath, as if sensing the storm on the horizon. Thalira turned toward the distant pack house. Its towers gleamed faintly in the weak sunlight, majestic, and foreboding. She could not imagine the dangers awaiting her there, the obstacles she would face, the secrets she had yet to uncover. But she had no choice. Her hands balled into fists, her teeth clenched. With every step she would take, she would carry the memory of her family, the whispers of the pack members, and the glowing eyes of the sister she loved. Somewhere deep inside, a spark of hope glimmered, a stubborn, unyielding hope that she could survive. And perhaps, just perhaps, save Morvaen. Chapter 2. The sun barely touched the horizon. Thalira stood at the edge of the village, her cloak wrapped tightly around her thin frame. The distant pack house towers glimmered faintly, silver in the morning light, standing like silent sentinels over the pack house. To the pack members of Morvaen, it was a place of beauty and power. To Thalira, it was the only hope. The only place that held the key to ending the curse that had haunted her family for 10 years. Her heart hammered in her chest. She remembered her grandmother's voice, trapped inside her sister's tiny body. You must find the flute. You must end this, Thalira. Morvaen depends on you. She shivered. Morvaen had changed since that night of fire and screams. Once vibrant, once bustling, the streets were now empty. Ghostly echoes of commerce and laughter, long gone. Travelers avoided the pack house. Pack members whispered in hushed tones behind closed doors. Fear hung over everything like a second sun. Relentless. Scorching. Thalira's fingers brushed the small pouch at her waist. Inside, scraps of notes. Fragments of melodies her grandmother had left behind. I can do this, she told herself. I have to do this. The path to the pack house was longer than she remembered. She skirted the edge of the forest, moved past the old marketplace. Silent now, except for the cawing of crows. As the pack house came closer, danger revealed itself. Guards patrolling the perimeter, armor glinting coldly in the early sun. Spears swung at their sides in steady rhythm. Eyes sharp, scanning every shadow. Thalira froze behind a low hedge, her heart thudding in her ears. The sheer size of the pack house grounds was overwhelming. Stone walls taller than any building in her village. Gates iron-bound and impossibly heavy. Courtyards stretching wider than she could imagine. Her breath caught in her throat. Fear gripped her like icy fingers curling around her chest. She had survived monsters, fire, pack members' hatred. But this was different. The pack house itself seemed alive. Every shadow a threat. Every sound amplified in her mind. She crouched, pressed against the hedges, trying to stay invisible as the guards passed. Each footstep was a drumbeat of dread. One misstep, one glance in the wrong direction, and she would be caught. And yet, the thought of the flute, the melody that could save Morvaen, it drove her forward. She edged closer, inspecting the pack house environment, memorizing guard rotations, noting the gaps and blind spots. Every muscle in her body screamed for her to run. But she forced herself to stay, moving silently, shadow to shadow. Her eyes traced the outer walls, towers rising above like silent watchmen. She could see the courtyards, the stone paths, the gate where the guards were stationed like hawks. The pack house was a fortress, but she had no choice. One step at a time, one step closer. Her stomach twisted with fear. Somewhere deep inside, determination flared. She had to survive. She had to reach the pack house. She had to find the flute. Morvaen's fate rested on her shoulders. She could not fail. With a slow, deliberate breath, she pressed forward again, hiding behind a shadowed wall, creeping toward the entrance. The pack house loomed larger with every step. The guard's chatter faded into the background of her mind. She could only focus on the path ahead, the path that might save everyone, or end in capture and despair. And still, a stubborn ember whispered in her heart, I will not fail. Not this time. Chapter 3. The moon had climbed high, casting silver light over the pack house grounds. Thalira had crept closer than ever, moving like a shadow along the outer wall. Her heart thumped so loudly, it felt like it could give her away. Each rustle of leaves, each whisper of wind, made her startled. but she pressed on. Then, without warning, a hand grabbed her shoulder. She spun around, eyes wide. 2 guards loomed over her, their spears sharp, glinting in the moonlight. "What are you doing here?" one barked. Harsh, accusatory. Thalira tried to pull free, but their grip was iron. Panic bubbled in her chest. I mean no harm. I need silence," the other guard snapped. "We've heard of your kind. The cursed girl. Your family brought this pack house misery. Now you dare approach the pack house." Fear gripped her like a vice. She had always known this might happen. The pack members' whispers had followed her here, marked her as a pariah. And now, the guards believed the same. I'm not cursed. I want to. But the guards ignored her. They dragged her across the courtyard, boots striking the stone path, harsh echoes bouncing off the walls. Every step felt like the weight of her family's sins, pressing down on her chest. The gates clanged behind her. They threw her into a dark, narrow passage. The smell of damp stone and rust filled her nostrils. She stumbled, catching herself on the cold wall. The guards laughed, a cruel, echoing sound. And one shoved her forward, into a small iron-barred cell. The door slammed behind her. Darkness swallowed her whole. Thalira sank to the floor, hugging her knees, chest heaving. She could hear the distant sounds of the pack house. Footsteps, muted voices, the faint rustle of life continuing outside. While she was trapped, her mind raced. What if they never release me? What if I fail before I even try? What if Morvaen falls? Because I was caught in the first step? Then, a soft, familiar glow appeared in the corner of the cell. Her little sister floated there, eyes shimmering with that impossible inner light. How did she get in here? But it's not time for questions. Thalira, the spirit whispered, calm yet insistent. Do not lose hope. This is only a trial. You must survive. You must endure. Remember, the flute is somewhere in this pack house. You are the only one who can stop what is coming. Thalira buried her face in her hands, hot tears slipping through her fingers. I don't know if I can. You can, the spirit said firmly. You must. 10 years of waiting. 10 years of suffering. All of it led to this. The pack house depends on you. Our family's name depends on you. Do not falter. Her chest tightened, but determination slowly replaced fear. She drew a shuddering breath, lifted her head, staring at the iron bars. The darkness of the cell no longer seemed like the end. It was only the beginning. Somewhere in the pack house, beyond guards, beyond stone walls, lay the flute, her family's legacy, and she would reach it, somehow. Chapter 4. The dungeon reeked of blood and damp moss. Air that clung to the lungs, refused to leave. A single torch guttered in its sconce, barely illuminating the jagged stone walls. Thalira sat huddled against the cold, her bare feet scraped and bruised. The night pressed in heavy around her, a silence filled with whispers. Somewhere in the shadows, her little sister's preserved body stirred faintly. The faint glow of her grandmother's trapped spirit flickered inside the small child's form. Someone's coming, the spirit murmured. A ripple through Thalira's mind. Footsteps echoed down the corridor. Slow, deliberate, heavy. Not the clumsy march of a guard. This step carried power, command. Then, the scent hit her. Pine, smoke, something sharp, like iron and rain. Alpha scent. Her pulse stuttered. A tall figure appeared beyond the bars, cloaked in black, gold threads tracing the edges of his mantle. His presence filled the small cell like a storm. It was Alpha Jasper, the most handsome creature she had ever seen. She had seen him in the town square, advising the youth wolves. She had snuck close, hidden by her veil and cloak. She had seen him at downtown too, handing food to the poor. The kindest, most handsome alpha to ever rule Morvaen. She had even crushed on him few times before. Who wouldn't? Everyone in the pack wanted him, especially because he was not mated. Thalira's heart hammered. The ruler of Morvaen stood before her, the most feared and respected man alive. golden eyes glowing faintly in the torchlight. "Thalira of the cursed bloodline," he said. "Deep. Cold. Do you know why you are here?" She lifted her head slowly, forcing her trembling voice to speak. "Because your pack members think my family brought the curse upon Morvaen." Jasper's expression didn't change. One slow step closer, boots clicking softly on the stone. "Do they?" Her stomach twisted. "No," she shot back, anger flashing through her fear. "These curses have existed for centuries. My ancestors tamed them for centuries. My grandmother tried to stop it. She tried to save your people." Her voice faltered. For a briefest moment, Jasper's cold mask cracked. His jaw flexed. He turned away, pacing once, twice. Then his tone dropped. Low. Strained. "So it's true," he muttered. "She really did try." Thalira frowned. "What do you mean?" He exhaled, removing his hood. The torchlight caught his features. Strong jaw. Sharp eyes shadowed by sleepless nights. The rumor has it, she wanted to turn the monster into her pawn. Instead of breaking it, she chose the wrong lyrics. "Your grandmother came to the pack house once. She begged my father, the Alpha before me, to let her access an ancient melody. A melody that wouldn't tame monsters, but free them, so that the vessel the monster consumed could survive. But my father refused." His gaze darkened. "And she still went ahead to create her own melody. I think her intentions were genuine, but her approach was wrong." Her breath caught. You know this?" He nodded, voice dropping from authority to desperation. "I've studied her work for years. Every record. Every ruined page." She was close, Thalira. Closer than anyone has ever been. "So I'll give you a chance. That my father did not give your grandmother. And see if you fail too." She searched his face, confusion twisting inside her. "So, you're not here to kill me?" Jasper's lips curved, something between a grimace and a smile. "Not tonight." Then, quieter. "Because I need your help." Her body stiffened. "My help?" "You carry her blood, her power, her understanding," he said. Low, almost pleading. "Maybe through you, the melody can be restored. But no one can know of this. If my council learns I sought help from a cursed line, the pack house will turn against us both." He leaned closer, eyes burning into hers. "So I'll pretend to interrogate you during the day. But at night, we work. Together. In secret." Thalira's mind spun. Was this a trap? A lie? Or hope? Her throat felt tight. "And if I refuse?" "Then Morvaen will burn," Jasper said simply. "And your family's name will continue to be the reason. So, it's up to you. Do you want to change the story? Or rewrite it?" The silence that followed was suffocating. She glanced at her grandmother's spirit, hiding in a corner, eyes like two stars in the dark. "This is the opportunity we need. Grab it," the spirit whispered, mind linking her from where she had hidden when she heard the Alpha coming. Jasper turned toward the shadows of the corridor, hand resting on the iron bars. "There's a passage through the south wall. When the guards change shift, I'll come for you. The archives await. We have little time." Thalira's pulse raced, instincts screaming at her to stay away. Yet, her heart, traitorous, wild, fluttered at the sound of his voice. She nodded once, slowly. "Fine. I'll do it." Jasper's gaze lingered, unreadable, haunted. "Then let's save them," he murmured, before fading back into the dark. As the torch flickered, Thalira exhaled, fingers curling around the cold floor. The air still smelled of smoke and pine. For the first time in 10 years, the cursed girl dared to hope. Chapter 5. The next night, the dungeon door creaked open. No guards, no chains clanking, just soft footsteps, and the scent she had memorized in just few minutes. Pine, smoke, power. Thalira's eyes fluttered open. Alpha Jasper stood there, cloak draped, torchlight painting his jaw in gold and shadow. "Get up," he said quietly. She hesitated. "You're letting me go?" He gave a curt nod, but his gaze didn't soften. "You really need to wake up. And remember what we discussed." He tossed a bundle of dark clothes to her. "Put that on. From this moment, You're no longer a prisoner. You're a special trial servant. No one will question me about you. As long as you keep your head down. His words sent a chill through her. She obeyed, changing quickly behind the shadows of the dungeon corner. When she emerged, the simple servant's robe swallowed her frame, but her eyes burned. With quiet resolve, Jasper turned, leading her up through a hidden stone passageway, winding beneath the pack house. Every footstep echoed softly against the ancient walls. Torches flickered. The scent of parchment and dust replaced the dungeon's rot. They emerged into a grand, but forgotten room. The pack house archives. Scrolls lined the shelves, most brittle with age. Strange instruments glimmered under the moonlight spilling from the cracked ceiling above. Among them, on a velvet cloth, lay the flute. Thalira's breath caught. It was the same shape her grandmother had once held. Slender, carved with spiraling runes, pulsing faintly, like veins of moonlight. She reached for it, but Jasper's hand shot out, gripping her wrist. Careful, he warned. His eyes glowed faintly, the wolf beneath his skin stirring. It's bound by ancient magic. Even my scholars fear it. She met his gaze defiantly. It was made by my bloodline. It won't harm me. Slowly, he released her hand, watching as she lifted the flute. It hummed faintly, a note too soft for mortal ears, but enough to make the hairs on Jasper's arms rise. I must say, your family was brave, he murmured. They stood before the creature when the rest of us hid. Even my father. We are called cursed for it, Thalira said bitterly. And yet, you're the only one left, trying to finish what she started. Silence hung between them. For a moment, they weren't alpha and outcast, just two souls, caught between duty and fear. Jasper unrolled a scroll on the table. These are records from before the first moon curse. They describe a melody, one that could tame the beast. But the song was incomplete. Thalira studied the faded ink, tracing the symbols. These aren't just notes. They're runes. He raised an eyebrow. You can read them? Not all, she admitted. But my grandmother taught me some before. Her voice trembled. Before she died, her sister's pup frame flickered faintly beside the shelves she's hiding. Unseen by Jasper. Be careful what you awaken, child. Her grandmother whispered through mind-linking. Even the right song can open the wrong door. Thalira glanced subtly toward her, then back at Jasper. We can't waste time. If the monster rises again in 7 days, we'll both be too late. He stepped closer, arm brushing hers as they leaned over the parchment. The air between them thickened, charged. Her pulse quickened. The alpha's presence, suffocating, but not in fear. Something else. She tried to focus on the runes, but his scent clouded her mind. You're standing too close, she murmured. Jasper smirked faintly. Where else will I stay? For us to study this together? But if you're not comfortable, I can move. He looked directly into her eyes. And for the first time in the past few hours they've been together, he looked at her. Really looked at her. She must be the most beautiful girl he had ever seen. Her long white hair making her look different from all other beautiful women he had met. Despite her shallow clothes, tangled hair, she still looked like beauty from a portrait. Thalira looked back, not taking her gaze off, not even once. Fire and storm colliding in their stare. Then, realizing the danger of that moment, Jasper turned away, clearing his throat. It's fine, Thalira finally said. Read it aloud, he commanded softly. Thalira inhaled, then whispered the first line of the melody. A low hum rippled through the air. The flute shimmered faintly. And somewhere deep in the pack house, a wolf howled. Jasper's jaw tightened. That sound. She stopped playing instantly. I didn't mean to. It's not your fault. His eyes darted toward the ceiling. The pack house itself reacts to power. We'll need to work deeper underground. Thalira's hands trembled. We don't have much time. He looked at her. Really looked. Then, we make time. Hours passed. Scroll after scroll. Failed attempts. Notes twisted into shrieks. But, between each failure came understanding. Of the music. And of each other. When dawn broke faintly through the cracks above, Jasper spoke softly. almost to himself. You shouldn't have to bear your family's curse alone. Thalira turned to him, exhausted but resolute. I'm not cursed, Jasper. I'm chosen. And if I fail, your people die. His golden eyes darkened. Then, we don't let you fail. She saw it again. That kind nature of the young alpha. That had drawn her to him in the pack square. Those times she had secretly admired him. And for a flea the spirit whispered, mind-linking her dotting heartbeat. She wondered what she feared more. The monster outside. Or the one inside her. That made her wish to pause the whole world. To be this close to this handsome alpha. For life. Chapter 6. The nights had begun to lose their boundaries. Sometimes. Thalira didn't know when one ended. And the next began. Not when she spent them in the dim, forgotten heart of the pack house archives. With Alpha Jasper. The chamber smelled of dust. And burned wax. Torches flickered low on stone walls, casting shadows that danced. Like spirits from an older world. They sat across a table, scattered with scrolls. Parchment so fragile. Her breath could tear it. The walls whispered with wind. And in the silence between their words, there was always music. A faint, invisible hum that seemed to live in the flute. Between them, each night, they tested melodies from her grandmother's old journal. Some were beautiful, others horrifying. One tune turned the flame blue and made it shiver. Another filled the room with smoke that shaped itself into clawed hands before dissolving. It's not just music, Jasper said one evening. Voice low, rough as thunder from afar. It's alive. Thalira didn't look up. Everything touched by the curse is. Jasper leaned closer, and the air shifted. Heavier. Warmer. You think the monster can be called off. Just once and forever. By a sound. I don't know, she said softly. But these lyrics, these notes, they were meant to bind. My grandmother believed it could silence darkness. She also believed there are some that can rescue the curse bearer and bind the monster forever. He watched her as she traced symbols with her fingertip. A faint glow on her skin, the same kind she saw on stormy nights, when her grandmother's spirit appeared. For a moment, Jasper looked less like a ruler, and more like a man trying to remember what peace felt like. He had never had the chance to really look at any woman up close like this. It had always been women flaunting around him, and lower packs calling him to align by offering their daughters. He had turned them all down. The only thing he wanted was to restore Morvaen to what it used to be. Your grandmother was brave, he said. She died protecting this land. He quickly added the words, using them as distraction, because he fears millions of thoughts would curl up in his head if he didn't. Thalira's hands stilled. They said she summoned the monster, she replied, innocently accessing the next note. Jasper's gaze darkened. They were wrong. Thalira felt his words were off point, and wondered where he was headed by those words. But before she could ask, he turned away, pretending to busy himself with another scroll. Later, when her eyes burned from reading, he rose and stood beside her. You should rest. I'm fine. You're trembling, he murmured. It wasn't just exhaustion. It was the way his presence reached for her, even when he didn't touch her. The faint smell of cedarwood and rain clung to him. His shadow fell across her face. As he leaned over to show her where the note should shift, their fingers brushed. For a heartbeat, neither moved. Her pulse betrayed her first. I didn't come here for this, she said quickly, pulling back. For what? He asked, voice barely above a whisper. Never mind. He smiled faintly, but there was sadness in it. And what did you come here for, Thalira? To save my family name, she said. To end what began with my grandmother's blood. Then he finally stepped away. It felt like a thread had been cut between them. That night, she lay on the cold cot in her servant's chamber, staring at the cracked ceiling. Moonlight slipped through the window, silvering the edges of her tears. She told herself, whatever she was feeling was a luxury she couldn't afford. Not when the next full moon could bring death again. And not with the most sought-after alpha in the pack and packs around. But every time she closed her eyes, she saw Jasper's face. Haunted. Beautiful. Broken. and heard his voice, whispering like a prayer she shouldn't believe in. Her heart pounded. She wanted to forget that voice, to erase it. But deep down, a fragile hope began to bloom. One she knew could destroy her if she let it grow. Chapter 7. The moon was almost full. Its light poured through the tower's cracked windows, like cold silver fire. And with every hour that passed, the walls of Morvaen seemed to tremble beneath it. 2 nights left, before the monster's next evolution. 2 nights left, before the screams returned. Thalira sat in the dim corner of the archives, hunched over the parchment that had nearly turned to dust in her hands. Her fingers ached from trying the same sequence of notes again and again. Every melody failed. The right one always seemed just out of reach, like a word she could almost remember, but never say. The flute lay across her knees, mocking her silence. She blew another note. The sound cracked. The air hissed. Pain shot through her wrist. Enough. Jasper's voice cut through the room, like a command softened by worry. He had been watching her for hours, his usual authority replaced by something gentler, something that unsettled her more than any threat could. I can still try. He crossed the space in 2 strides. His hand closed over hers, before she could lift the flute again. Your hands are shaking, he murmured. And swollen. They'll heal. He frowned, the lines between his brows deepening. Not if you destroy them. Before we actually really need them. Before she could argue. He reached for a small vial from the desk. Thick herbal ointment that smelled of pine and bitter roots. He knelt in front of her, Alpha crown forgotten, and began to bind her hand carefully in clean cloth. She tried to pull back. You shouldn't. Sit still, he said, voice low but firm. Please. It was the please that broke her resistance. His fingers brushed against her skin, tracing the bruises that ringed her palms. From too many hours gripping the flute, the warmth of his touch sank deep. Too deep. She felt her breath quicken, her throat tighten. His closeness made the air thicken around them. When he finished, she looked away quickly, heart hammering. Thank you, she whispered. Jasper didn't answer right away. His gaze lingered, unreadable. Then quietly, he said, You don't have to destroy yourself to save this kingdom, Thalira. Please, take it easy on yourself. Her voice cracked. Someone has to. Plus, I don't have the time to take it easy. He turned away, before she could see the emotion flickering across his features. Guilt. Sharp and fleeting, like lightning behind his eyes. Hours passed. Hunger gnawed at her, but pride kept her silent. When her stomach betrayed her with a low growl, Jasper's lips twitched faintly. You haven't eaten since dawn, he said. I'm fine. He stood, crossed to the small table, and returned with a piece of bread and a bowl of stew. Eat. He tore off a piece himself, dipped it in the stew, held it to her lips. The gesture caught her off guard, not by its boldness, but by its care. Please, he said again, softer this time, as if he knew that would get to her. She hesitated, then took it, only because her body needed it. But when his thumb brushed her chin to wipe a drop of sauce, her heart betrayed her again. For a moment, neither spoke. The silence between them, filled with everything unsaid. Tension, longing, fear. Then a cold wind swept through the chamber. The candles flickered violently. The scent of pine vanished, replaced by something faintly floral. Wild lilies. Thalira froze. Grandmother, she whispered within herself. She knew she was around. Her grandmother's spirit mind-linked her again, faintly shimmering, filled with urgency. The same ethereal glow that lived in Thalira's blood pulsed faintly in her presence. You're running out of time, her grandma's spirit whispered, voice like a sigh of wind through trees. The final note is missing, because the rest lies where it began. The lyrics journal is hidden in the forest. You must find it before the monster rises again. The spirit's light flickered, her image breaking like glass in water. And then, she was gone. Thalira's pulse raced. Jasper stepped closer, face pale. What is it? Thalira looked up, eyes bright with fear and determination. The missing lyrics, the one that can stop the curse, are in the forest. How did you know that for sure? He asked, confused. She gave him a look. That said, this is not the time. Jasper's jaw clenched. Then we go, before dawn. She nodded, clutching the flute against her chest. But deep down, a question echoed louder than any song. What if she fails? Chapter 8. The first light of dusk bled across Morvaen, painting the palace walls in dull crimson. Thalira and Jasper moved silently through secret passageways. The city slept behind them. No guards followed. No eyes would see them. Only the rising moon. And the wind whispered warnings. When they finally reached the outside, Thalira's pulse hammered in her ears. She clutched the flute tightly. We have to hurry, she said, eyes scanning the shadows. Jasper nodded. His gaze swept the darkened tree-line, amber eyes glinting with an intensity that made her stomach flutter. He lowered to all fours. His form rippled. Fur replaced flesh. Bones stretched. Muscles tensed. Alpha King of the Wolves. Within moments, his human form vanished completely, leaving only a towering black wolf. Thalira swallowed hard, then shifted herself, letting her body contort and stretch, until she became a sleek, silver-coated wolf. Her fur bristled with power and fear. She felt every heartbeat, every movement of the earth beneath her paws. Ahead, a small, familiar pup darted between the trees. Its fur shimmered faintly under the moonlight. It moved with a strange intelligence, pausing to glance back, as if ensuring they followed. A pup, Jasper growled low, ears flicking back. Why is it guiding us? Thalira's jaw tightened, teeth gleaming. It's not just any pup. She hesitated, glancing down at the small form. It's my grandmother. Jasper's eyes narrowed, muscles tensing. What does she mean by grandmother? He wanted to ask questions, but said nothing. He trusted her judgment, even if the truth burned in her secretive silence. The forest swallowed them whole. Trees loomed like ancient sentinels. Shadows stretched and twisted. Every sound, the snapping of twigs, the whisper of leaves, made her fur bristle. But the pup ran ahead, nimble and fearless, weaving through the forest as if the path had been carved just for them. Hours passed. They leapt over fallen logs, dodged hanging vines, skirted overgrown ruins of old stone houses, long claimed by the forest. At every turn, Thalira's heart beat faster, not just from exertion, but from being so close to Jasper, in this raw animal state. Finally, they arrived at a clearing. Moonlight poured down, silver and ethereal. In the center, half buried under roots, lay a weathered chest. Thalira's ears twitched. She recognized it instantly. The resting place of the old lyrics journal. She shifted back to human form quickly, brushing leaves from her hair. Chest heaving. Jasper followed, his wolf form dissolving into a tense, tall figure. Eyes golden, smoldering, fixed on her. The pup barked once, faintly luminous, and vanished into the shadows. Thalira exhaled. Grandmother. She turned to look at her. She's gone. Jasper's gaze softened slightly, but he asked no questions. He knew this was her secret. For now, it was enough to focus on the task at hand. They didn't look for long. It was as if someone had left it there for them. Together, they opened the chest, pulling out the journal. Its pages brittle, ink faded, but the fragments of melody were unmistakable. Here, Thalira whispered, tracing a line of notes. These are the missing pieces. We can try them together. But he wasn't paying attention to her words again. Jasper stepped closer, brushing a lock of hair behind her ear. His touch lingered. She faltered for a heartbeat, but forced her attention to the journal. She started humming the lyrics, ignoring the touch she had felt a few minutes ago, pretending she didn't feel anything. She moved to another section of the lyrics, not sure which was to be used, or why a piece seemed missing. The fragments shimmered with power, vibrating through the ground, through the air, through their bodies. Some notes stirred the forest, trees quivering, shadows twitching. Others calmed the wind. making leaves dance softly, like whispers. But it wasn't enough. The melody was still incomplete. The missing final note lingered, like a phantom, just beyond reach. And yet, in the shared silence that followed each attempt, the tension between them grew unbearable. Each glance carried unspoken words. Each brush of hands, each lingering touch, left sparks that neither could deny. "I can't," Thalira murmured, stepping back, chest heaving. "We don't have time for this." She looked away. "For now," she stammered. Jasper closed the distance between them, placing a hand on her shoulder, the heat of his skin searing through the night. "I don't know, Thalira. These past 6 days have been tough for me," he said, voice low, fierce, amber eyes catching the moonlight. "I can't deny it, not even if it costs me everything. I know you know what I'm talking about." She swallowed hard, trying to tear her eyes from his, trying to focus on the journal, the music, the mission, the lives at stake. "We can't," she whispered. "Not now. You said for now. Should I take it like, when all this is over, I can give myself the go-ahead to want you?" She looked away, but shook her head in agreement, a little blush escaping her. He let out a low, frustrated growl. Human and wolf coiled in the same body, and stepped back reluctantly. "Then we better finish it," he said, jaw tight, gaze lingering, voice heavy with unspoken promises. The forest was silent around them, holding its breath. And, somewhere deep inside, the missing note waited, as if it sensed their growing connection, testing them, daring them to unite melody and heart. Before the moon rose fully. Chapter 9. The forest seemed to hold its breath. Silver moonlight bathed Thalira and Jasper as they stood in the clearing, the journal clutched tightly in her hands. Their bodies were close, heat radiating from Jasper in a way that made her pulse hammer in her chest. "We need to clothe ourselves," Thalira said, voice trembling with a mix of exasperation and embarrassment. "I get it. Am I too hot and you can't resist the fire?" he said jokingly and burst into laughter. Jasper's amber eyes glimmered in the moonlight. He hesitated, a low growl rumbling in his throat, leaning closer, almost too close. Their lips brushed. A dangerous, tantalizing moment. But Thalira pulled back sharply, shaking her head. "No, not now." Her gaze darted around the cave, searching desperately for anything that could serve as clothing. Her eyes fell on the enormous elephant ear leaves. Wide, thick, perfect to cover their forms. With careful fingers, she cut and hemmed them together using the sharp thorns that jutted from the surrounding rocks and bushes. Jasper's eyes narrowed, a mixture of amusement and exasperation crossing his sharp features. "Why is being naked new to you?" "You're a wolf," he said softly, voice carrying both teasing and a hint of vulnerability. Thalira's hands trembled as she tied the last leaf in place. "You need to know. I'm but a lone wolf," she admitted, voice low, almost shy. "I've stayed at the pack outskirts for 10 years, transforming on my own. Never seen anyone else shifted since then." Her heart fluttered, emotions swirling frustration, fear, and the undeniable pull toward him. She averted her eyes, focusing on the final note that had yet to reveal itself. The small pup, glowing faintly under the moonlight, barked and darted forward, leading them to the ancient stone altar hidden deeper in the forest of whispers. The air hummed with anticipation. Thalira's hands ached to play the flute, to finally complete the melody. They both knelt near the altar, adjusting their makeshift leaf garments. Jasper leaned close again. For a heartbeat, they were drawn together once more. Lips nearly met. Breath mingled. But Thalira's resolve burned through the heat of the moment. She pulled back again, shaking her head. "Not now. Let's finish the melody first." Jasper exhaled, chest heaving, but made no protest. He knew her mind, her mission, was still on the lives at stake. The monster. Morvaen, her family's name. Thalira raised the flute. Fingers trembling, she played the fragments again. Jasper followed her lead. The notes wove together in perfect harmony. Trees shivered. Shadows twitched. The forest itself seemed to listen. And then, like a whisper carried on the wind, the final note revealed itself. soaring from the flute in a haunting, complete melody, resonating through every leaf, every branch, every heartbeat in the clearing. The moment the note sang out, the pup barked once in joy and vanished into the shadows. Thalira and Jasper stood together, breathless, trembling, hearts racing. They looked at each other, unspoken words hanging heavy in the air. Jasper stepped closer, hand brushing a lock of hair from her face, golden eyes burning into hers. "We're closer than ever," he murmured. And yet, she shook her head again, stepping back, chest heaving. "We can't. Not yet. There's too much at stake. This melody, it's everything. We need to survive first." The tension hung between them, thick, electric. The forest whispered around them. The final note echoed through the trees. For a moment, all else. The danger, the monster, even the forbidden longing between them, faded. And then the wind shifted, carrying a chilling reminder. The monster would not wait. "Let's go before morning comes," Alpha Jasper finally said, distracting himself. They had the melody, the final note. But the night ahead promised fire, shadows, and revelations. That would test everything they thought they knew. About loyalty, love, and the truth behind the curse. Chapter 10. The night air was thick with anticipation. Every rustle of leaves, every whisper of wind, a warning. Thalira and Jasper ran side by side through the shadowed forest. Their wolves pounded the ground, shaking the earth beneath them. The ancient hour of midnight, long marked as the witching hour in old Morvaen texts, approached. A time when dark forces gained strength and the monster's power surged. They were almost there. The pack house loomed ahead, barely a ridge away, its walls bathed in the silver glow of the early moonlight. Thalira's hands trembled around the flute. The completed melody hummed faintly in her mind, the final note a promise of salvation. Almost there, Jasper growled, eyes scanning the shadows. "Keep moving. We have to be at the pack house tower before the monster is out." Before he could finish, the clouds parted. The moon broke through early, spilling cold, pale light across the forest. Thalira froze. Something primal rippled through the air. The ground vibrated underfoot, a low, guttural growl echoing through the trees. Jasper stumbled. Shock and fear crossed his face. His body convulsed violently. Muscles twisted, bones stretched, and fur erupted over his skin. A terrifying transformation overtook him. Teeth elongated. A deep, haunting roar tore from his throat. Thalira's breath caught in her chest. Her pulse thundered in her ears. She watched frozen as the man she had come to trust, the Alpha King she had fought alongside, laughed with, and felt drawn to, became the creature she had feared all her life. The flute slipped from her hands. It clattered to the forest floor. Notes scattered. Pages tore from the journal. Shards of wood and inked pages lay around her. Powerless. Her chest tightened. She took a shaky step forward, eyes wide. The creature's eyes glowed with the same amber fire Jasper's had. The same intelligence. The same sharp intensity. And yet, the malevolent hunger behind them made her stomach twist in horror. "No," she whispered, voice breaking. "It can't be. Jasper." The Alpha King, now fully the monster, lunged forward. Every step shook the earth beneath her feet. Thalira's heart shattered. The man she had grown to care for, the one she had begun to trust, was the same creature that had destroyed her family all those years ago. But how? She questioned herself, panic clawing at her mind. 10 years ago, he should still have been too young to be the monster. Memories crashed through her. The screams of her mother. The destruction of her village. The day the monster first struck. Her grandmother's desperate attempt to stop it. All of it led to this impossible moment. She stumbled backward, trying to gather the flute, the lyrics, anything that could save the night, save her, save the kingdom. But her hands shook violently. The pieces of the journal seemed useless now, scattered like shattered hopes. The Alpha King's growl deepened. A horrifying mix of Jasper's voice and something ancient, monstrous. Thalira. The sound was almost human, almost pleading. And it made her chest constrict further. Tears blurred her vision. How could she reconcile the man she had begun to care for with the monster that had haunted her nightmares for a decade? The forest around them seemed to vanish, the night air thick with the smell of iron and smoke. Thalira's mind raced. The completed melody, the final note, the flute, everything she had worked toward now rested in her trembling hands, waiting for her choice. And she realized, with a sickening twist of fear and longing, if she played the melody, she could destroy him, even kill him. But the lives of the kingdom, the villagers, every soul she had sworn to protect, hung in the balance. The moonlight glinted off the Alpha King's jagged form, illuminating the impossible truth. The monster she had feared all her life was the man she loved. And for the first time, Thalira felt the full weight of impossible choices. The crushing burden of love, duty, and vengeance, entwined in the same heartbeat. I spent days writing this story, pouring my energy into every detail and building it piece by piece. I truly hope you enjoy it. I want to say thank you for listening to this beautiful story. I'm Grace Mira, and every story you hear here is written by me, with the voices and images brought to life using AI. If you enjoyed this one, please subscribe, like, and share. Your support helps me create more lovely stories for you.